I'm in shock. I don't even know where to go right now because it's so much to share. I got a great guest, Danny. Unreal news that I think everyone's heard it. We broke it first. We broke it like 10 minutes before Trulieve broke it. They're closing in Massachusetts. Got Danny, who's going to be on the show tonight. You know what? Kim Rivers right now is live facing investors. She won't face us. She won't call in to this show, which has a lot of listeners tonight. I'm already seeing a number of listeners. The number one show covering her corporation, Trulieve. She won't come on this show, but she's got the balls right now to do a Twitter space. Let's just add that. Let's bring her up. I'll bring Danny up too, but I want to see what Kim Rivers is saying right now.
Continue those relationships with consumers over in the next years, and will be that again brand, and that cannabis brand,
Your crappy brand,
that
Kim
really
Rivers, calling
define
Kim, hashtag calling Kim.
cannabis as
Wait,
we
talking
move
about
through
brand. Can you believe
this
this,
cycle and
Danny?
into the next
Absolutely
cycle
not.
of evolution at the
What a
national
joke.
level, and that's done market by market,
This is Kim
relationship by
Rivers live right now
relationship,
on Twitter Spaces
and
trying to
consumer by
spin
consumer. I mean, one
the
of our
bullshit
mottos is
today
that
after they just
Trulieve
announced that they're
grows one
closing
customer,
everywhere
one
in
patient at a
Massachusetts. They're
time,
going out of
and we take
business.
that to heart. And
Do we want to listen to her
so I think
tonight?
that when you think
Does
about
anybody?
again our positioning
What do you
versus
think,
our
Danny? Should we get
in
rid
the
of this or should
industry,
we
it's
listen
one
to it?
that
What do you
we're
think?
very serious
Uh,
about what we're doing. We're serious about our
it's
future, and we're
hard.
serious about making
I
sure
would love
that
to hear what she has to say if it's
we
anything
are
good,
good
but I have a
stewards
feeling she's never going to talk about that.
of our investment
She's
dollars, of
just
your
too
investment
scared of it.
dollars, my investment dollars, and
I
that
don't know. I'd love for
but
somebody to go in there and
we
ask some
are
good
leaning
questions though
into
about
this
worker
incredible
safety,
future that
and why
we
they're
believe, and I
closing.
believe is really ours
It
to
seems like it's all
make the
just
most
talking
of.
about the investors, of course. Like this
Okay,
is a
great.
good
Well,
investment
thank
move.
you for
You know
that.
what? I'm
Thank
actually
you for
done with Kim Rivers right now. I am just done. I've heard enough already. So welcome to the show, folks. Hopefully we get some calls tonight. My phone's been ringing off the hook today. I'm sure yours has, Danny.
Yeah,
We heard about this
definitely.
first. You and I actually were the first. We beat Trulieve to their own big story that they were closing down in Massachusetts today. You and I like tag team that story and got it 100% confirmed before Trulieve announced it to the world, didn't we?
Yep, absolutely. It was shocking. I absolutely, didn't believe it almost at first. And then it was just like, confirmed through so many things. And then this morning, being there on site and seeing the employees walk out and asking them about what just happened, it's shocking. It really is.
I mean, I kind of, it's funny because on this show, we've been covering Trulieve for so long now. And as a lot of people know, people have talked about wanting Trulieve to be closed down in Massachusetts on the show. Number one was Lorna's mom, Laura. Laura said that over and over. Like I've said it.
Yep.
I think David, her stepdad, might have said it. Like, and I'm sure others. You might have said it too, Danny.
Yeah.
Like a
Yeah.
lot of us have said
Right.
we wanted to see Trulieve shut down in Massachusetts. I don't think we expected it today. Don't think we expected Trulieve to do it themselves. I
Right.
don't even think we really expected it to happen, but it did happen today. It is shocking.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Precisely. Like I expected that somebody else would have done it first before they chose to do it themselves. And what's strange is like the timing around all of this, of why they chose to do it now. It's very, uh, it doesn't seem like the usual way or like the right way to close a company. And it's been interesting to hear some feedback from people or some employees that got that memo today and kind of how they're feeling about it. A lot of people are upset, worried, they're concerned what they're going to do for the next job. Uh, it's a disaster.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because I want to even go to like the Dig Boston talking joint memo story that we just had on the screen here, because basically I've already seen some of the media reporting, like Mass Live. They're leaving out stuff. They it's unbelievable at this point that you have mass like their old reporter, Shara, who since moved to the Globe, was awesome. I guarantee if this happened when Shara was there, I would have had a call from her at 9 o'clock in the morning for quotes from us, like for more information. We didn't get that call. They run a story. They don't even check our Twitter. They don't check any of the info we're putting out, even for the last months. Because like the number one thing on Trulieve, which I'm glad you just brought up, it seems so weird to do it at this time because of that NIOSH health hazard evaluation that we've been talking. We just talked about it, you and I, like less than a week ago, our last episode, I believe it was.
Right.
And then before that, we've been talking about it with folks from Mascosh. We had two great guests from Mascosh talking about this NIOSH. On Friday, you were at Trulieve promoting the NIOSH health hazard evaluation. So like that's not going to happen now. And if for people that don't know, when Lorna died, part of the settlement with OSHA was that a study would be done to see how dangerous it actually is working at Trulieve Holyoke. And the feds actually were going to do that through this organization called NIOSH, which is a federal government. It's a occupational scientists that study this stuff, that study the air, that study the worker safety issue. And they were about to do that at Trulieve this month. And now that's all over. And it's just like, it's just amazing to see that they're squashing. I believe that that's why they pulled the trigger so quickly. I think that they were probably going to do this in the long run, but I don't think it happens in June until NIOSH and all the things that we've been talking about. And Talking Joints Memo, Chris Ferrone, my old editor, he called me up immediately. He got the story because he's been following. He's seen what's going on. He's got all the information about Mascosh, UFCW, Jobs with Justice, how we're getting calls from Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Florida, all across the country from Trulieve workers that we're not going to stop this coverage. But most importantly, he covered NIOSH, that NIOSH was going to do a study there. And that study's not likely to happen. I mean, is that what you thought immediately too, Danny? Do you agree with what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. My mind first went to, wow, this HHG is not going to happen now. We're not going to get that information and education that could save other people's lives in this industry. And we're not going to get any kind of actual change within that facility for Lorna's, legacy. It will never happen. They're not going to take accountability. They're going to run from it. And that was made clear by their decision. And I think this is absolutely everything to do with what we've been doing, what's going on with all of their financials, of course, come into play, but I think it's honestly secondary to the kind of things that they've gotten themselves into in Massachusetts. This is a market that is much different than Florida and all of these other states. Like, we're a bunch of skeptics here. We're going to question everything you do and understand it before we buy from you. And nobody really likes Trulieve product because they're a terrible company. And Massachusetts and Englanders know that. And I think they weren't going to be successful in the long run anyways. But on top of that, having so many issues, on top of Lorna, other people, getting
Let's take a call.
Yeah.
Take a call. This is going to be a good call. I know who this is. Hello. I believe this is Maddie. Is this right? Who is calling?
Hi. Yeah, this is Maddie.
Welcome. You're live on the show.
Hi. How are you doing today?
Awesome. Glad you called.
I am too. I am feeling really conflicted about the Trulieve shutdown. Like, as someone who worked in the industry and knows how important that those studies are and were, and like how much it would have like brought so much change to the industry, not just at Trulieve, but across the state, across the country, like just change the entire industry forever. I don't like that they shut down right when things are getting heated for them. you know, like there's, as you had posted before, there's an investigation going on. You know, I tried to organize them before, and it just was such a battle going back and forth. There's just something really fishy about it. And well, ultimately for like the individual worker safety that work in that facility, I'm so glad that they're not going to be exposed to that anymore. But also the people in the dispensary weren't exposed to it. Now they're going to lose their jobs. And the people who were working in there who were actively trying to change things, now they're going to lose their jobs. So while like to stick it to Kim Rivers, I'm really glad that they're shutting down. There's also a really big part of me that wonders why this is suddenly coming right before the super busy months in the summer, because we all know like over the summer, right as summer vacation begins, that's when they make a lot of their sales.
Yeah, great points. Thank you, Maddie, for calling. You've someone who's organized workers on, you know, the ground level and in Massachusetts. So I'm really glad you called. And I 100% agree. Like, part of me is, I think Danny, everyone I've talked to, we're really happy in a way that they got some justice in a way. Like, you know, for like Laura, I know Laura is happy, Lorna's mom today, you know, I know, but at the same time, we're going to miss out on this NIOSH you know, we would have found out so much. There would have been so much press generated. And it's just a shame that that's not going to happen. And then for all these workers to lose their jobs. I mean, that's tough. So it's definitely, it's not all a party here. That's for sure.
No, and I don't want to take away from the happiness that Laura is feeling, because you know, I had the honor of meeting her at your awards show, and I had the ability to speak with her for a couple of minutes and express my condolences and remind her that her daughter is making changes even after her unfortunate passing. She is making changes. Lorna is going to continue to make changes, and we're not going to forget her name, and we're going to continue to say her name, and we're never going to forget that a 27-year-old died before their time, before they really should have, where they had so much life in front of them. So I don't want to take away from her happiness. I don't want to take away from the family's happiness. There's just something about it that just feels off.
I agree 100%. Thank you so much for the call, Maddie. You've got Danny Carson here, who we've been speaking to, and now Brenda from Mascosh has joined us. Do you have anything you want to say to them tonight, too? I think you probably know both of them now, right?
Yeah, I met both of them at your award show. The work that you guys are doing is really important, and as someone who still has the breathing issues that I've talked about before on the show and talked about at the award show. As you can hear, I'm kind of breathing heavy because I live on a 3rd floor now. So the air is very hot up here. I wouldn't have struggled like this even a couple of years ago. And it just, the work that you two are doing to change the industry and make sure that nothing like this happens again is not unnoticed. It's not unappreciated. And I know that it is going to be frustrating and it's going to feel like it's not noticed. It is. It absolutely is. And you're going to change the industry for the better forever.
You too. Thank you so much, Maddie. You've done great work. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Maddie.
Thank you so much.
We're the Young Jerks. We're taking phone calls tonight. We have Brenda here from Mascosh. How you doing tonight, Brenda?
Hi, I'm doing well.
What do you think all about this? This is like unexpected to all of us that we're even doing a show tonight.
Yeah, it's pretty surprising news. I got to join Danny for a bit, and I think the mood is definitely pretty sad out with the workers. I think there's a lot of disappointment. This is pretty unfortunate timing. And I think the main thing, and I think there's still a lot to kind of figure out and discuss and kind of hear more from workers, what's happening and what they feel kind of moved to do with this sort of news. And so I don't want to kind of miss, you know, a step kind of in like what we should be kind of calling for. But I think some immediate things that came to mind is that, you know, for the workers that are still there who are going to be, you know, employees for the next couple of months, I just want to, if anyone's watching, I just want to encourage people, you know, if the worry was being retaliated against or like losing your job for speaking up, now is the time to speak up. I think like, you know, I think for like issues of health and safety, I think it would make a lot of sense for people to like take this time that they have now to raise their voices. If people are experiencing health and safety concerns or like illnesses, like make sure that you're filing those workers' compensation claims. I think it's more kind of to use this moment to like raise your voice and reach out for help because I think, you know, the timeline's tight right now. I think for a lot of the things, it doesn't matter if, you know, you're an ex-employee or not, or if the company is closed, they're still very responsible. And so I just I want workers also to know that their rights don't end just because the company closes the facility as well. And so if issues surface, if you're realizing, for example, that like you're developing asthma symptoms, allergies, like months after you've stopped working there, you're still entitled to workers' compensation claims up to 3 years. And so I just want, you know, people to know that.
Absolutely. I'm glad you're bringing that up.
Yeah.
I have a relative who is a workman's comp attorney, actually. And so like for people that don't know, it doesn't cost any, like an attorney is like her is going to take your case, like not like with a check from you. They're going to get a contingency if they win. So like do it. Like if there's an issue, pursue it. Find a workman's comp attorney. I can find one for you in Massachusetts. Easy. I have one if anyone needs one. But you know, yellow pages. I mean, you can Google in your town. You'll find a million of them, and they're really good, and they will get you the money. Like people need to. I'm so glad you brought that up, Brenda. Like workman comp. If you're hurt, sick from work, go after that money. You got money there. Go get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's something that MassCosh has a lot of experience helping workers with as well. So I'm also, you know, happy to share my information and talk through it, because I know a lot of the times, like the fear of retaliation, even though there are protections against retaliation, like holds a lot of people back. And so, yeah, I think, you know, that's one of the main things that came to mind. And then the other thing that I wanted to share was just in kind of history of a lot of past like closures that have happened in the past, especially like in moments of recession and whatnot. Even though, you know, workers are receiving their benefits for a good amount of time, this is still a moment to organize if people feel like they are deserving of more than what they have been offered. There is still kind of room for people to push their employer to either extend their benefits for a much longer time than what they've promised, and you know, negotiate and push for what they believe that they deserve in this moment. And so, you know, if there's like a group of workers and if, you know, people are really upset and believe that like they needed more you know, time than the days that they got you know, noticed, then I would just, you know, think about like what do I need to make this like work? How do I navigate this transition? How do all of us, like, you know, what do we all want out of this? It's not an ideal situation to be in. It's like extremely disheartening to lose your job and see your coworkers lose their jobs and livelihoods and have to start over again. But there's a lot of power when workers come together, even in like moments like this when there's closures. And so, you know, now's the time more than any other time to like continue to talk to your coworkers and organize. So
Speaking of that,
the organizing doesn't end
Yes.
just because the company is about to leave the state.
I want to ask you both, because you were both there today, Danny, and you're both Brenda and Danny. Oh, getting more calls. Hold on to the calls for 1 second, folks. We're gonna have to turn this thing off. We got a Holyoke call. We got to take this one though.
Yeah, take it.
Well, let's take this call. But I got a question for both of you.
Hi, hello. This is Erica Langevin.
Hold on. Yeah, you're live. Hey, Erica, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Today has been a bag of mixed emotions, so it's definitely crazy to hear all the news. I just wanted to thank you for publicizing all of this. It's just been really tough for, I know, a lot of the Trulieve workers. I was a Trulieve worker from December to June 2022, and I was laid off a month before their OSHA investigation because I was raising too many red flags for safety. That was my job, so I just want to thank you.
Well, thank you for calling tonight. Were you surprised that they shut down before this NIOSH investigation?
I was surprised they did it so soon. I wasn't expecting this to happen so soon. I feel as if they're running away rather than facing the news.
Yeah.
I'm just like afraid of something happening like this in another state. Like our nightmare is over right now, but who knows what's happening elsewhere.
Well, and there's other companies in Massachusetts too that definitely have similar, ways of operating. Let's put it that way. Maybe not quite as bad as Trulieve, but still.
Right. Yeah. It was just such a difficult situation. It was during the height of COVID, but I worked in chemistry labs before this, and I know what chem exposure feels like. And I had a lot of safety concerns after Lorna had passed, and they were all just pushed away, not even considered. Oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it. A lot of like condescending remarks.
Wow.
Um,
Hi, man. I just want to say thank you so much for calling in. I really appreciate your voice in this space because we haven't heard much from people that used to be employed there. And I worked there almost around the same time. I think I left a little before maybe you came there. But it's really good to hear from you and to hear your perspective on it, like from another insider. Is there, any other things that you want to talk about while you're alive right now?
My heart just goes out to all the current employees that got laid off today. I was also laid off with no notice, so I understand how heartbreaking and difficult it can be. I just know that you guys can get back on your feet in no time. Hopefully, there's resources out for you.
Speaking of that leads me to the question that I was going to ask Danny and Brenda tonight, and ask you too, Erica, since you work there. You were out there talking to employees today. Was there any, like, did you receive when you left there, Erica, or Danny or Brenda, did you hear from the workers today that they were being asked to sign like any non-disclosure agreements, or talk to the young jerks, don't talk to the CCC, anything like that? Have you seen anything?
So prior to my employment, I had signed a non-disclosure.
So so when you started your employment there?
Correct. And I believe a lot of these people had the same forms, but it was more so like, don't talk to members of the press. I'm trying to think what else was on there about upcoming like collaborations and things like that. Like no photos. There was a lot of like no photo policies.
I guess the advice, what would all three of you have for advice to employees going through that, who are deciding right now whether to speak to us and come on the show?
Honestly, like for myself, it took so long for me to use my voice here. I've been watching for months. I just wanted to give out encouragement of any kind that I could, and you're all eligible for unemployment, and just offer that resource. It helped me a lot to get back on my feet when I lost my job there.
Yeah, absolutely. And from my end, to add to that is to definitely organize and talk to your coworkers. When I was out there today, I saw a lot of groups of people talking, getting really close, and, being able to communicate about their experience, and that needs to continue. you all need to continue talking and get close and care about each other during this time. When I lost my job and my, 4 or 5 employees left with me the same day, we all went to the park together and smoked a doobie and talked about what's next. What are we going to do next, and how do we move forward? And I think that that would be really beneficial for a lot of current employees right now, is to organize and communicate what their issues are, what they want to see, and what they need from this employer to make sure that they are not suffering because of this, supposed business decision that is going on right now.
Thank you, Erica, for calling
Yes,
in.
absolutely. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thanks.
We got another person called in through our StreamYard. I'm not sure who they are, though. Should I take a chance? I don't know. Can you? I don't know if you guys can see the guest. Can you see the name? No.
No.
We got to take a chance. We could be getting punked here. I think. Are you there? Oh, they're not there. They're not even there now. Jeff Jones. He just bumped off. I think Brenda has to go. I'm not sure if Brenda's still here or she's multitasking. She's got a lot to do for Mascosh. I mean, Danny, I know that like one of the things that we were hoping is that a couple more whistleblowers would be coming on the show from Trulieve Holyoke. One we've been kind of like, hoping for a while. Do you think this might help, or, and what advice would you give to folks? Because you've been through this, like
Yeah.
whether they should go
Definitely.
public or not, whether they should get vocal.
Yeah, absolutely use your voice in every capacity that you can, and call upon people who have power to make change, to be able to support you in this time as well. Um, uh, if nothing else, let's all band together and buy back the license and make an employee-run facility there. Like, employ ourselves, and because these major MSOs are not doing it. And what I would say to them really is to just continue to talk about it, and to not be so concerned about speaking up, and to feel empowered to do so. I hope and I think that this kind of moment, and it's unfortunate, but sometimes it brings forward a lot of emotion, and that can also bring forward the voice and the courage to be able to speak out. And I hope that more people definitely do that, and can really make change in this industry, in spite of them choosing this choice to disrupt a bunch of workers' lives, right before an HHE, right before a hearing at the National, Labor Relations Board, um, during an investigation with the CCC to understand, what happened during his death, which is supposedly still taking place. Um, you know, uh, there's a lot happening, and it just seems like a very suspicious time uh, for them to just stop in Massachusetts. And so, yeah.
It sure is. It's like very suspicious. You know what's interesting right now? We've got a lot of listeners, but you know what? One thing I wanted to do is post some of the comments, because we've got a lot of comments. And I also wanted to ask the listeners, where are you listening from? What cities and towns? I want to know. When we get a lot of listeners, I like to know, because a lot of times we're trying to figure out where to cover, and a lot of times it's Florida listeners, Massachusetts. I want to know cities and towns. Where are you listening from? What city, what state? Let us know in the comments too, like where you're listening from. I'm going to post some of the comments right now. We've had a lot of comments tonight. Yolanda Bennett writes, it seems they don't care about the patients. What about the patients? Yeah, I don't think they really care about the patients. If you saw just this last week, there was an elderly patient arrested, a customer of Trulieve. And why was he arrested? Because he made such a scene, and I think he got violent. because they make these old elderly patients wait hours for medicine. No other dispensary makes you wait 2 hours waiting for your medicine. Trulieve does that, and then they don't have what you want. They change it. They upsell you. It's like going in to buy a car. When you go in and buy cannabis at Trulieve in Florida, and a lot of these locations, the customer experience is like buying an automobile. You're like getting shooken down to buy something else. It's a bait and switch going on. So, yeah, they don't care about their patients. We know that. Someone couldn't hear somebody on the call. I can't hear her. I don't know. I think I could hear everybody. I don't know.
Yeah.
Everything sounded good tonight. I don't think we had any technical issues so far. Maybe it's on your end. That's what I think. I think so far we've almost had a perfect show.
Yeah, I think we're good.
A lot of times we've had technical issues lately.
Right.
I got a lot of these comments from a Facebook user. They write, "Thank you for showing up for workers today, Danny Carson."
Oh, appreciate it. It was great to be out there, honestly. It was I was definitely anxious walking down there on the street, but yeah, everybody started talking to me. They were really wanted to talk today, and it was really a good experience to be out there.
And I believe a friend or family member of Lorna commenting, Faith, she said, "Definitely me. I wanted it shut down as soon as possible." So she's happy.
Yeah.
Facebook user wrote, "Did Trulieve put restrictions on employees where they can't work in another cannabis facility?" Gee, if they did, that's like outrageous. That has to be null and void now. I mean, if they did, it's null and void.
Yeah, I think that with that they had it in the NDA or as part of that while you're employed there, but once your employment's over, then you're able to work somewhere else.
Facebook user writes, "They are closing a few facilities in California and Nevada. Does anyone know if there was any union activity at those facilities?" I don't know, but I do know in Massachusetts there definitely was. And there's actually a National Labor Relations Board case being heard in Boston right now about the firing of employees and union busting by Trulieve at the Framingham location. So I'm sure that those facilities were probably had some union activity going on. I would not be surprised at all. Yolanda writes, "Trulieve made $1.1 billion. I'm in Georgia. I wonder if they would do the same here if they don't make the revenue they have projected." Yeah, I doubt they'll leave for Georgia for a while, and just due to the fact that there are only 2 licenses given out so far. Trulieve has one of them. Those are the states they're going to stay in, is where they can actually compete. Massachusetts, there's too many licenses rewarded now. There's too much competition. That's the other part of this, is Trulieve was having a hard time competing in the mass market. Massachusetts, a lot of companies are going to start going out of business. We've been predicting this. We've been seeing the layoffs, and it's, predictable that it's the ones with the worst reputation. If you can wholesale from a dozen companies, if you're a retail store and you have a choice to wholesale, to buy product from wholesalers, you're not going to pick Trulieve. There's another dozen MSOs that are just as crappy, but they don't have the bad name association that Trulieve has right now. So that was going against them, and I think that was their whole model, is that they thought they were going to just grow all this cannabis for all the other retailers, and they found out no one wanted it. That's my guess about Massachusetts, but I also think it's, like I said, NIOSH, what Danny's doing, what we're all doing, the workers. It's like they were sick of hearing about it. I really think, and yeah. Facebook users, there would have been huge fines, so I'm sure this was a smarter move, is what she means. I mean, fines, I don't think there would have been more fines, because OSHA is like toothless. Their fines are a joke. But if anything that they were afraid of on the NIOSH, I think that it would help the lawsuit from Laura's mom, from Lorna's mom. If there was a lot of ammunition given from that NIOSH study, maybe that's what they were afraid of. Maybe it was the money from the lawsuit. That I could see, not the fines. OSHA and Mass CCC have been shown to be toothless on finding these companies for doing anything. But I could definitely see a court case, having some say on that. Would you agree, Danny?
Yeah, absolutely. NIOSH doesn't give fines out either. They're not the authority to enforce anything, but they can suggest after studying, give data and information to a company to better improve their quality and of their work environments and reduce hazards and things like that. And so like they can figure out what kind of engineering controls could be put into place and how the air quality is and what affects people the most, what symptoms are experienced most often and why. So it's like going to be a lot of good information to know, and perhaps fines could come in the future from the CCC, but because they supposedly have an investigation open still about this, but I don't know if they were necessarily waiting on the results from the NIOSH investigation in order to do anything about it, and I'm not sure if they will. So
Other folks on Facebook want to know where Kim's talk is on Twitter. I want to listen to both. LOL, she has me blocked. She blocked us too. The Young Jerks are actually blocked on Twitter by Kim Rivers. Calling Kim. Hashtag calling Kim. Tell her to call into the real show and answer some real questions. She won't do it. It's so funny. If anyone wants to call in, now's the time. 978-560-3155. We have open phone lines right now. I'm hoping to hear from Alicia Nicole tonight. She was definitely interested in calling in. She's relative of Lorna McMurray. Face says, I will never let this die down. My best friend lost her life because of things that weren't taken care of. A lot of us that feel like that. Devin's asking, what about the Whistleblower Protection Act? Doesn't it protect the former employees from retaliation? I mean, I don't see how they can be even retaliated at this point. What are they going to sue the employees? That hasn't happened. No employee has come on has been sued. The only thing that's ever happened on this show from employees speaking, we had a bunch of employees at New England Treatment Access. While they were employed there, come on the show during a union fight. The union said they were protected, and one of them ended up getting fired out of the 5 of them that came on. So, I mean, that's the worst that's going to happen to you. I don't believe any employee is going to get sued. I mean, it could obviously happen, but I think Trulieve knows they have enough issues without suing their employees right now. I think they have enough fires. And I think that's what a lot of this is about, is saying, you know what? We just don't need the trouble in Massachusetts. And I think that's almost the lesson on this. Be good trouble. Find good trouble, because, you can drive them out. I really think other states could start doing this too.
Yeah.
We need better businesses, and Trulieve isn't one of them. David writes on Facebook, I hope the workers find somewhere to go. We all do. We all are hoping that the employees all have it easy and find good jobs. Yolanda wrote she's listening in Georgia, which is a Trulieve state. Lisa writes Westport, Mass. We got West Springfield, Mass in the house. We got Westport, Mass and West Springfield, Mass. We got Washington, D.C. in the house. Rachel, my friend, she's awesome. I got to get Rachel and her friend on the show, who they do amazing work in D.C. We got to get them, actually. I think she is working with us a little bit with the workers. They're amazing. Let's take a call from Springfield right now.
Hello.
Hey, who's on the phone right now?
This is Faith Torres. I was one of Lorna's best friends.
Thank you for calling.
I just want to, of course, I'm sorry for the people that are losing their jobs and their employment. That's not okay at all. But yes, I am very, very happy that they are dealing with consequences and shutting down.
Thank you for calling. I mean, did you expect this? You must be kind of shocked, right?
Honestly, I am. I'm very shocked. When I saw you post that, I was not expecting it whatsoever, but it was definitely a good thing. It shocked me in so many ways.
And have you heard from other friends and family of hers? What's their kind of feeling on it?
Actually, I was just with one of our other best friends, and we were both very shocked and happy about the situation. even though we feel really bad for the people that were working there and have lost or about to lose pretty much everything because they're losing their jobs. We feel really bad about that, and we wish we could help in any way.
We heard recently that Kim Rivers, the owner of Trulieve, the executive, who's doing a Twitter thing right now, she'll never come on the show. We keep saying hashtag calling Kim, but she never will call in. But we heard she does listen to the show. What would you're a friend of Lorna? What would you want to tell her if she's listening right now, or maybe an hour from now?
All I can say is I'm very, very glad that you guys are getting the consequences towards everything, and to know that losing my best friend because of circumstances that could have been prevented is not okay. She was a very young person who just had a whole life ahead of her. She did not deserve this, and this will continue to live on because I will never let it die down.
Thank you so much for calling. Danny, you have any comments on this?
Yeah, thank you so much for calling. It's so great to hear from you. You know, we need to continue to talk about Lorna and to talk about what happened, because there are still people that are out in this industry struggling. And you know, it's of course such a bittersweet day, but you know, I really appreciate you calling in and talking tonight, continuing to talk about Lorna.
Of course.
Thank you.
Of course, Danny, you can always message me and we can always keep going through everything.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Of course. And I appreciate you guys.
You too. Thank you so much for calling in tonight, Faith.
Of course. Have a great night, guys.
You too. We're the Young Jerks. My name is Mike Crawford. We've got some great callers and great guests tonight. Danny Carson was a friend and coworker of Lorna McMurray, who passed away, who kind of started us on this whirlwind of covering all this bad stuff that Trulieve has been doing to their workers. And it feels like a little justice tonight, you know, hearing from her family and her friends. It feels good to them. And I'm happy for them. I am. There's like, they don't get a lot of happiness in this. Like it just makes you sad. I almost want to start crying again, but it's almost a little bit of happiness in a weird way tonight. I mean, not going to change anything. Lona's not coming back. They're not getting their friend back, but at least something. And Danny, you were there today. You were outside talking to workers. You talked to workers as they were leaving. Some of them I heard were quitting on the spot. You told me you had this sign that you brought out, Trulieve killed Lorna McMurray. Did you like hold that out for a long time or just for a couple of photos? And if so, like, did anyone say anything? What was the response to that sign today?
Yeah, I held it out the entire time I was there. I was holding the sign in front of me. And I specifically, you know, I was standing on the road there in front of the parking lot as people were kind of in different groups talking about what had happened, what they're going to do, and you know, people are driving off, yelling out of their window, "Fuck Trulieve," as they're driving down the road. It was rough, and so I was standing there holding that. People definitely acknowledged it, and the management team, the HR director, and somebody else, one of their leadership team members, came out and saw the sign as well. And so I held it up in the air and just stood there until they left. And she like made a phone call while she was there, and so I think like she probably called Kim or something like that, or maybe security about it. But I was on the road, so there was nothing she could do. So they didn't talk to me. They just walked away, and you know, like it was crazy. It's just there's so many people that have so much talent in this industry, so much talent specifically in this company, and now they're all without jobs. Um, and I see it over and over again in this industry, especially in Massachusetts. Like people's black legacy market industry experience, um, it doesn't get taken into consideration. But some of these people are truly skilled workers that know what they're doing. And I hope that, we see a lot more of this employee-run businesses that open up, and that people really take this time to consider what they want to see as this industry starts changing once again. Um, and noticing that they can do these things like starting co-ops and applying for social equity licenses, and they can work with investors, and there are opportunities out there for people to do good things and to be the model company that we kind of need right now in this industry, to show people what the norm should be, because right now we've got these cultural standards in this industry that are just like wreckage for people. This is kind of one of those things that happens.
So we're asking, we're going to be posting some more comments. We're asking folks where they're listening from. I want to know city and state where you're listening to from. Tonight we have a lot of listeners, and it's good for us to know, and it's just fun. Something you can comment on. And we just had another one come in. They're listening in New Jersey, Bayonne. I think that's how you say it, Bayonne, New Jersey. It's funny, we get a lot of listeners now from New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and especially Florida. We were just a local show, but like Trulieve took us to basically like all of the East Coast. We are like the East Coast show now. It's funny on Trulieve. So thanks to Trulieve. But I love all to know where you're all calling from, or listening from. Some of you call too, but let us know tonight in the comments where you're listening from. I'm kind of speechless. I'm tongue tied. I mean, I don't even know what to say tonight. There's so much to kind of look at. Yeah, and I guess it was there were breaks in Danny's words. That's what they were saying about the audio that one of the listeners mentioned earlier.
Okay.
It's not Danny's fault. It's like the same thing happened with Brenda. I didn't even recognize that. I got to make sure that people know. Brenda had to drop off too. Her connection was poor too. It's for whatever reason we take the Western Mass calls. Like, is Comcast not working out there? Like, it's always. I swear to God, like you guys are like don't have good internet like we take for granted or something. Is that, or maybe it's, I don't know, what is it, Danny?
No, it's absolutely the problem. Like, we have terrible service in this neck of the woods, and we're surrounded by trees and farmland, and there's just not towers like that.
Yeah, you know what? It's interesting, and I don't know this for sure, but I'm assuming this just from listening back to the podcast. I think that the software like corrects it now. Like, I don't know if they have an AI working. Oh, I don't know if it's our, Spotify, whatever it is, Spotify for podcasters, or if it's the software we use with StreamYard. But usually on the playback, especially on the podcast, it usually sounds fine. So if you missed anything and you want to listen, you can always listen back to the podcast. I'm sure it will sound really good there. Sometimes it's just like the broad, the streaming. The streaming, that's the issue.
That makes sense.
More comments. Here's a Trulieve worker who's come on from Florida, Kelly. She's awesome. She says they don't care at all about people. They just care about lining executive and shareholder pockets. And that was like one great story that came out recently from Dusty Christensen. The story that was on the Nation, the cover of the Nation, like how much Kim Rivers gets. She's making like $8 million a year. Like, can't afford to pay your employees, can't give can't protect them from worker safety issues, layoffs up, but she's taking $8 million or whatever it is home a year. I mean, that's really all it's about. Keep that stock price up so she can take another 8 million next year. It's probably even more than that too. That's just probably the base. Lisa asks, what can we do to help Danny right now?
Call upon the people that have power and authority to continue to hold them accountable in the ways that they should be held accountable. Even though they're closing soon, doesn't mean they shouldn't be investigated, or they shouldn't have another HHE or health hazard evaluation done at a different facility that they own. But it's going to take people speaking out and speaking up in order for that to happen. Otherwise, this is going to be just another story that in a couple of days is, and we have to keep it strong and just keep asking for change, especially as they continue to close.
And Lisa's asking, have they been given compensation as a result of abrupt termination? I believe they have, right? I mean, they're getting paid until
Yeah.
at least for 2 weeks, maybe even a month. It sounds like.
Yeah, I think they're getting paid for a month. So yes, they are. But if if you've ever been through it, like I have, getting laid off of work, 1 month is not enough, especially in this market for jobs. And I think that people shouldn't just settle for whatever they're being given. They should definitely speak up and organize and ask for more if they need it. Um, this is a company that's done nothing to help any of these employees, and we need to do something to make this right for them.
I also had a comment from an long time activist guy I know, Mass Vocals. I think it's Steve Drury. Used to be a mass canner. He says, sorry, but I am confused. It was said she was filling joints and had an attack. She had asthma attack, which a symptom can kill. Cannabis helps. I don't know. It's a little disjointed there. But I mean, I don't know what's confusing about it. She had an asthma attack at work because there wasn't proper ventilation and they knew about it. And it was the second time she collapsed, getting taken out twice by ambulance for the same condition. There's an issue there. And I mean, we're going to reveal more of it. I feel like very soon. We've covered this extensively. You can go back and listen to some of the interviews with the mom, the stepdad, and Danny. But if you have any questions on it, you can listen to those, and you can also expect more coverage because we're expecting some coworkers of Lorna to actually probably come on the show pretty soon that haven't gone public. We even had one tonight. We'll be reporting more on that. Trust me.
Yeah, I'm looking to it. I hope that more people call in. And just
We got a guy on LinkedIn. I like this Keenan Cough. This is like so many people will try to like throw their services at you on LinkedIn. Like we did a fundraiser like last week for GoFundMe, and all these people coming out of the woodwork just trying to get me to hire them to be my GoFundMe manager. It's like, no, I just did a promotion for someone else. So you don't need, but this guy actually threw up his services on LinkedIn right now at the right time. And I like it. Keenan Coffee says, cannabis recruiter here. Feel free to connect with me if you've been displaced. So if there are any Trulieve workers out there, there's someone that wants to help you out.
Yeah, that's awesome. I hope more people do that.
Yeah. Just going through some of the comments. I don't want to post anything stupid. There's a lot of comments here. It's hard to keep up, actually. There's some people telling Mass Vocals to sit down. They're mad at him now. Legally Nifty on YouTube it is. Mass Vocals is okay. He sometimes you got to explain things to him a few times. He's actually a pretty good guy. He's actually the type of guy you'd want on your side if he actually knew all the details. I think Mass Vocals would be right all about this, knowing him. Lisa writes, now this is breaking news. Yeah, we should have written this all over today. Everything we report today is breaking news. It's a kind of an inside joke too that some will get if you know. Thank you, Lisa. That did make me chuckle. It sure is breaking news today. Everything we're doing today is breaking news. Yeah, I think Danny gets that joke too now. A lot of people get that joke now. It's not just a few. Oh man, what you don't have to say now is great. Can the workers file a class action suit, or is Massachusetts a right to work state? No, we're not a right to work state. I don't know if they can do a class action suit. They may. It depends on what they're suing about. I know that Mascosh and some of the other folks from the union are looking into what they can do for the workers. So if there's cause, Faith, again, who called in earlier, friend of Lorna, said, I thank everyone for speaking up for Lorna and for these workers. Thank you, Faith. Another Facebook user is, basically telling us about what, workers' rights on this. And they said, as long as they don't quit or possibly other stipulations, they get a month's pay as severance and their benefits will last until July 31st. And that's about the deal for the workers right now, which is good. Oh, so Mass Vocals doesn't believe the cannabis dust killed. That's what it is. It's not about cannabis killing. It's about the dust. Any dust particles. It doesn't matter what it is. It will kill you. You know, it's just like, you can drown on water. Like if something goes into your lungs, it will suffocate you. And that's what we think happened with Lorna, is that dust particles were so great that it killed her.
Yep, exactly.
A lot more comments are coming in. People are worried about the employees, obviously, where they're going to work. We got people listening from Holyoke, Mass. That's also a big area where people listen to us now. Michael Driscoll, long-time listener. He's probably the longest time listener listening tonight. He's always been listening. I like Michael Driscoll. I'm glad to see you're still listening, Michael. Some of our old-time listeners died off, or I don't know, maybe some of them have died. We've been around that long. Oh, I don't even think about that. Michael Driscoll is listening from Riverside, Rhode Island. Thank you, Michael. Rachel says, bravo for reporting on this important set of issues. And Lisa said, greed. And Mass Vocals is now thanking us. He's thanking us for addressing his concerns. Facebook user writes, hashtag call in Kim. I know, maybe we should go back to that Kim audio. I mean,
oh yeah, we should check in.
She's just like, I have a feeling she ducked out quick. I heard she was choking. That's what some people told us earlier. I'm hoping, we had some parody calls of Kim. I was hoping to get one of those tonight. I don't know what happened to that. If you know what I'm talking about, call in. Lisa is now offering Mass Vocals some, information on it too. So it's good. We educate in the comments. So Stacy is someone who's organized in Michigan. She's probably listening from the state of Michigan tonight. She's done some cannabis worker organizing. She's great. She writes, so there will no longer be a NIOSH inspection. Why would that no longer take place if they are still going to be open for another month? My belief is that and Danny can comment on this too, but from my understanding, it takes them a while to set this up. And I don't think it's something that just gets done in a month. And I think that they were planning to start it in like a month. And I think that they were actually planning to do like their first visits, like maybe later this month, and then, really get into it in August. So I just don't think they're going to be able to do it. What do you think, Danny?
Yeah, second that. I don't foresee it happening pretty strongly, because they are going to have to basically rush through a report to give to a company that's going to close their doors and not use some information that would be very specific to that facility. So although their suggestions for changes would be specific to the facility, but the other information that comes along with it doesn't serve really Trulieve as much as it serves like the community of cannabis workers. And that's really going to be missed in this. But on that note, one thing I would suggest is that we find and hopefully throughout this network, if there's any business owners listening for cannabis companies that would like to invite NIOSH in to do HAG. As I said, they're not an enforcement agency. This is just to help to make processes better, safer, and to help you understand that might be associated with it.
Yeah. I mean, I
even
think
commitment.
the big, I want to stop you 1 second there, Danny, because you are
Yep.
breaking up a little bit again. But I just want to drive this home because I know sometimes people in the industry are listening. And I think that you nailed it, like on this point, like the outside dispensaries can still bring in NIOSH. And I think it would be for their benefit. It's like a free evaluation for them. It's like they don't have to pay for this. They can have someone come in that's science-based, tell them what are there any issues at your workplace? If there aren't, you can be like, wow, we're safe. We don't have to worry about that. Imagine all the stress gone. And if there are issues, they're going to tell you what they are. And you're not going to get fined. They're going to tell you how to fix them. Like, this is like free. So if you're a smart, good dispensary owner or in management, you should be welcoming these folks in NIOSH, because it's either going to give you a good, clean bill of health, or it's going to come back and tell you these are the issues, these are the concerns, this is what you can do about it. And a lot of times, the fix isn't that expensive. Like, I really don't think that it would have been a lot of money to put in some fans and make sure the room where all the particles are was well ventilated. I mean, how much does that cost?
Not that expensive. Like,
Not that expensive.
especially,
So
comparatively to other things that are spent, money is spent on, it's not that expensive.
I think other people, other companies need to consider inviting NIOSH in. It's better to do it this way. Would you rather pay for a huge lawsuit later when you find out someone's sick or dies like Lorna did? Stacy is now in Asheville, North Carolina. That's where she's listening tonight. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you, Stacy. She's awesome too. I love her. Does a lot of good work.
Yeah.
And she says, thank you for the clarification, and thank you for being out there for the workers today. Danny.
Thanks, Stacy.
Yeah, thank you, Danny.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Before, because I want to, I maybe go back to Kim if we can get that back up, but I don't even know if she's still live. But what are your final thoughts today?
Just a reminder for everybody to continue to make change, even though Trulieve shutting their doors. This is not the end of this battle. We need to continue to make change for workers, and call upon the people that have the authority and power to help us with that. And please use your voice. Call in now. Call in now and tell us about your experience and see how we can help, how people in this community can help, because there are people out there trying to help. I'd love to speak with anybody that would like to speak with me.
Yeah, definitely. Anyone who wants to call in, now's a good time. 978-560-3155. We got a lot of people listening. I'd love to know what town or city you're listening from. If you want to post it in the comments, please let us know. If you have any comment on this tonight, definitely let us know. And again, call in if you're an employee, you're someone that cares about cannabis and you've been following this, or you're just learning about it. Call in. We want to hear from you. We can replay the Kim thing. I think we should just replay it. I think we should just have fun with it. It's over now. People want to hear it. Listen, it's so funny. This is what Kim does. Like, some of these jokers too are like, why would they come on your show when blah blah blah? It's like, why wouldn't you at this point? Like, what does she have to lose? Like, I don't get it. If I was Kim, I would call in on the show. I would come on the show. But I know why, because she likes the softball. She likes you're gonna hear, we're gonna play it. And it's just basically, business talk. They're not gonna ask her anything human. They're not gonna ask her about Lorna. They're not gonna ask her about NIOSH. They're not gonna ask her about the real shit. They're not gonna ask her about being, the company that has the most lawsuits, that has the most OSHA complaints. The only cannabis company that we know an employee has died at. They're not going to ask questions about that. Instead, they're going to ask about revenues and branding and the brand value. Like Trulieve has a brand value at this point. They just showed that they can't compete in an open, Massachusetts is far from an open market, but more competitive market, their brand has no value.
Yeah.
We all know it in Massachusetts. That's why they could not compete. And this isn't a company that was like here from the beginning. They were here like what? Just a couple years. They were like flash in the pan. They could not even make a dent here. Some of the comments in Florida is, coming in on Facebook user, Trulieve is all I can buy from. I mean, that's the problem. That's the only way that they can compete. Mass Vocals writes HIPAA filter vax. Exactly. Now you're getting it. YouTube comment for Mass Vocals. They didn't do any of that. They had, I want you to think about this, Mass Vocals, because I think you're a union guy. They had someone who collapsed at work, was taken out by ambulance because they couldn't breathe. They put her back into production didn't give her any of the proper masks. The only mask that we know of that they gave her was those, COVID masks. And from my understanding that day, she wasn't even wearing one of those. And I'll tell you some other stuff. Well, I'm not going to reveal it all, but there's more coming on this. But like, this is how outrageous this was. And think about this, Mass Vocals. You have a worker that couldn't breathe. That Christmas, what did they give her for a Christmas present? They gave her flour to smoke. This is a woman who, on her Facebook page, who had, been a cannabis user her whole life, basically, her whole adult life, who stopped using it and was posting that she couldn't even smoke cannabis anymore because of her workplace, because she couldn't breathe. And this is like not a rare thing. Like, we hear this all the time from workers in cannabis, that they have breathing issues. We heard it tonight. Maddie called in, same age as Lorna. She left the industry. She couldn't breathe at work. This happens all the time. They get rashes too. That's the other thing I hear. I mean, people sticking up paper towels up their noses. New workers come in, old workers tell them about what to expect. And that, you might want to go to CVS and try some allergy medicine. All right, Danny, I'm not making this up, right, Danny? This is what you saw.
No, this is absolutely accurate. People are bringing inhalers to work. They're having extra inhalers at work for other employees that might need them. They've got allergy medicine always stocked up. And instead of controlling the hazard, people are just trying to get themselves better on the other end of having all of these issues. I spoke with one worker the other day. I won't name the facility that they work at, but they told me they have a compromised immune system as a person who was suffering from cancer and going through treatment, and they contracted within 1 year of working at a cannabis company. 4 times they contracted bacterial pneumonia, including sepsis, and it goes on. So these aren't things that are just happening at Trulieve. They're happening nationwide. They're happening all over the state. And it needs to, we need to get more information about it to make sure that we protect workers and have people in power be able to help us do that.
Thank you, Danny. Erica, who called in earlier, former Trulieve worker. We're really proud of her calling in tonight. Thank you, Erica. She wrote, Trulieve wants to control their own narrative. That's why they keep talking over our voices in public spaces and press conferences. And it's probably why she's doing her thing right at the same time we're doing our show. I think that was already pre-planned, but it is funny. Like, yeah, I also noticed this morning, like within 10 minutes of us announcing, they had a press release out.
Yeah.
They knew we were coming. They
Yeah,
knew.
They
knew we were there. You were there. I mean, it's so funny. They tried to, they did. They definitely tried to one up us on that too.
Yeah.
Rachel Donlin writes, we kept them out of Virginia by insisting that MSOs can't start before equity applicants. I think that's a good idea. I mean, ideally, I would let small caregivers open first. I mean, that's what Maine did. They had good success with that program.
Yep.
Stacy also writes, sounds like a lot of Band-Aids, with the situation needs a full joint replacement. Comments keep coming in. I'm gonna play one more comment, and maybe I'll post some more, but I think we're gonna go. I want to replay the Kim thing. Maybe have some laughs. I don't know if I'm gonna play it all. I don't know if I can stand it all, but maybe play it for a little while and see how it goes. Yolanda writes about Georgia. This is where I don't think Trulieve is gonna. This is why Trulieve left Massachusetts. They're in Georgia. They're in Florida. Florida, they are number 1 market cap. They started with a monopoly. There's a little bit of competition now, but they mostly still own half the business in Florida. And in Georgia, they're one of 2 of the first licenses. And it's been surrounded by controversy, the way they were awarded in the backroom deals. And Yolanda's commenting on that. She says, in Georgia, there was scrutiny about the application process. I feel for the patients here in Georgia. There are some lawsuits pending over the application process here. Yeah, of course, it's totally corrupt, just like Florida. And no wonder why Trulieve, wants to stay in Florida where they're one of 2. That's the only way they can compete. That is the Trulieve game, to rig the system. That's what they did in Florida. Lisa wants to hear the Kim thing too. So let's play that. And then people don't have to go to, because if this guy on Twitter gets all mad at me because I'm playing this, I don't even care, because I guarantee you he didn't ask one tough questions, and he doesn't deserve even, any of our listeners tonight.
Right.
I said that last comment, but Woods Bads just commented on Facebook. I got to read this one. The industry has so much potential to be incredibly healing to people, the environment, the economy, but instead we get told that mold is normal and to find another job if we complain. Absolutely. We had a lot of calls tonight. I want to thank Maddie for calling in. I thank Erica and Faith. Might have missed another person. Also, Brenda and Danny for being here. Did I miss anyone else? I felt like we had some other calls too, but I
No,
don't know. Maybe.
I think you got it.
Yeah, I think
Thank
that's
you,
it.
Mike. I appreciate it. I appreciate all your support with this as always. Thank you so much for what you do.
And you have a link tree that we want to promote too for workers who want to get organized, right?
Yeah, absolutely. In a lot of ways on our link tree, we have a lot of information there. Linktree /Canada Safety. And you can also reach out to me on Facebook, Danny Carson, or on Instagram, Danny Massachusetts. And just, if anybody wants to talk, wants to organize, or needs help in any way, wants to just vent, I'll be there for you. So reach out if you need anything.
Now let's listen to where Kim, her safe space, where she goes and hides, where she gets all the questions that she wants, and everyone's very nice to her, and they don't bring anything up negative. Let's have a listen to it. Hopefully this comes up right now.
I'm ready.
I'm ready. Yeah. Well, maybe we can't listen now. What's going on here? Of course, it's not working now. Let me try it again. I'm going to close it one more time. You can't hear it, right? Yeah, I can't hear it. Maybe you started late. Hold on. This is weird. Oh, here we go. We got her. Hold on. Yeah, it's going to be like a minute of dead space, I think. They don't. I thought we were amateur hour. I mean, the guy's going 30 seconds in and he hasn't even spoken yet. Oh my God. Come on, man. Get your shit together. Here we go. I got him up. I'm going to bring it up now. Hopefully. I still don't have it up. I thought I had it up. Okay.
Okay,
This is
Mike, I'm
fun.
here with you.
Yeah, we'll come through eventually.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny though. Listen to this guy. It's like, here we go.
Appreciate you kind of stopping by and sharing your insights with us.
Yeah, no, I think it's really an important platform for sure, and I will just say I love the Twitter interaction. So and feel like I've gotten to know a lot of folks who are listening over the years. A lot of folks have been following our story from the very beginning, and I know are invested. And so, just before we kick it off, just a quick thank you to all of you out there who, again, we've had some form of interaction. And just to say it, I really appreciate all of it. I think that the positive obviously is good, but it's really important to have, I think, questions and thoughtful debate as well. And as you mentioned, Toby, this is an emerging sector, so it helps us understand where there may be confusion, where we could do a better job of communicating more clearly with folks on certain points, and really just gives us an idea of where people's heads are at. So again, just thanks for everyone's engagement.
Yeah, well, let's kick it off. I guess I always kind of like to ask executives these days. My first question is usually just if you could just give us a quick sort of state of the union on the sector. And I guess, I think we've obviously the past couple years, it's been the sector's been a little volatile, just from a fundamentals perspective. Obviously, stock prices as well, but I generally like to separate the fundamentals from the stock prices. But it's
Mhm.
obviously, the sector has, an equal share of challenges and opportunities, and it's a very dynamic sector. So I would love for you to just maybe give a quick sort of, 1 to 2 minute state of the union. Maybe, before we jump into truly specific stuff, just how do you see the sector today, the challenges and the opportunities, and just kind of what's going on broader with the broader sort of set of companies. Particularly, I'm always kind of interested, like what the smaller companies might be doing. I would guess, maybe they're facing some more challenges given fundamentals and capital markets, et cetera. But just how do you see the state of the sector today? And let's start there, if you could.
Yeah, absolutely. I see the sector today as incredibly exciting, actually. I think that certainly in with everyone here, look, sentiment is down. Obviously the stock has been across the industry, stocks are down. Um, but I also can see in the business in the day to day that demand remains very strong. Unit growth is up across really most markets, if not all. And what we're going through, I think, is a natural cycle that's really important for any industry to experience. And I think that within each cycle, there's its own set of challenges and lessons. And I think that it's critical and has been critical for our sector to experience pressure and to experience a cycle in order to really establish, sort of separate, if you will, companies that can perform through it. And again, understanding consumer behaviors and trends through an entirety of a cycle. And not just in high growth or high demand periods. And so I think for me and for what we see there's still a ton of white space in the sector. There's a lot of growth opportunities ahead. We remain, of course, incredibly bullish on the Southeast. There are markets every day that are continuing to turn on as it relates to either a medical program or an adult use program. Of course, the conversations that are happening at the federal level, we're very encouraged by how that's tracking. And I am actually more optimistic than I have been in the past in terms of forward progress there in a very measured and incremental way, which isn't always great from a kind of spark in the pan, if you will, from a market's perspective. But I do think that that's fundamentally, if we can kick off that sort of steady pace of change at the federal level, I think we can make some really meaningful progress there. And I think that through a cycle too, the challenges that are presented also present opportunities. It presents opportunities for consolidation. It presents opportunities again to get to know your customer and their demand preferences and really understand and have to make critical decisions in terms of who you are as an organization, where your strengths are, where you want to lean in, and where perhaps you should pull back, which I think ultimately will help shape and define not only our companies but really the landscape within the sector.
That's great. I like that you mentioned the cycles, because that's something that I've been thinking a lot about recently, is just kind of in the context of pretty much any emerging market, you tend to have these sort of boom and bust cycles that are obviously, a lot of that is tied to capital flows, capital, investments and money coming into the sector. That money then gets invested, and given it is an early stage opportunity, not every single dollar that comes into the sector is invested completely wisely, because it's an emerging sector, and that's just the way it is. So I've only been looking at this sector for about 2.5 years. Obviously, like 2.5 years in this sector feels like a lifetime, and you've been in it longer than I have, obviously. So I would guess, if we're doing dog years, you're probably like 100 years into the sector, basically. But can you just talk about if this current cycle, how it may or may not be different from previous cycles? And I guess, like, I'll preface that by saying, like, the good news is this: like, we now have 3 companies, yourself included, that are run rating over $250 million a quarter. So there's 3 companies that are run rating $1 billion a year, and there's 2 that are very closely behind you, and that's obviously like if we look at the long-term picture and we zoom out, these are encouraging trends. That being said, obviously pushing for efficiency is a big goal for your company, for every other company in the sector. So how is this cycle maybe kind of different from previous cycles in this sector?
Yeah, well, I would argue that we really haven't had a legitimate previous cycle in the sector. Really, I mean, Trulieve has grown to $1 billion in revenue in a 7-year period of time, which is incredible growth. I don't care what industry or sector you're in. We literally started with 10 people, me being one of them, to now over 6,000 employees in that time period as well. So really, when you look at the growth cycle that this sector has had, and Trulieve in particular, it's been really phenomenal and very exciting. And so, I would say that we really, I think, as an industry, have not had a cycle, maybe at all, maybe some periods of, right. And then we had the COVID injection, if you will, of demand for our business, for sure. I mean, we were up 25% quarter over quarter, just trying our best to keep up with the crazy demand that was coming our way. And so, with, of course, the right sizing or unwind of that COVID demand, coupled with then the sort of whipsaw effect of inflation and wallet pressure, that has then translated into pricing pressure across many key markets. That's something that this sector as a whole hasn't experienced. Now, one could argue that perhaps in certain markets, maybe California in some respects, maybe Colorado and others, that maybe on a regional level or state level, perhaps some of that has occurred previously, but certainly not, again, across, and not really with the overall consumer behavior change that we've been experiencing recently. That being said, of course, what goes along with that is you're constrained on capital availability and access to capital to a certain extent. I'm very proud of Trulieve and our discipline there, and the fact that we're in a really phenomenal position vis-a-vis our peer set. We have approximately $200 million on the balance sheet. We are on track to meet our stated cash goals for this year, and we were built as an organization around financial discipline. As a founder, we were self-funded. We didn't take out rounds and rounds of Series A and B financing and funding when we started. We were literally built as an eat what you kill organization, and so really for us, it has been a call to action to get back to our fundamentals, and that work really started almost a year ago at this point. So last summer, we saw the trends change, and we saw our early data and our early indicators, kind of our alarms were ringing, if you will, that showed that, consumer patterns and consumer behaviors were starting to shift, and they were shifting fairly rapidly. And so at that point in time, we had all hands strategy, meetings, and decided that, look, we have to get very serious. We were already in the mode of, integration, which naturally and has optimization efforts built into it, but really turning up the speed and the breadth of that analysis and that work across the organization, and fast tracking many decisions that are coming to fruition and will continue to come to fruition as we get back to, again, the basics of being an organization where we are generating cash, we're generating free cash flow, and we're able to invest that capital back into our business. But I say to folks all the time, I would not trade hands with any other company in this sector. I feel like our position in terms of where we are, the investments that we've made, the foundational investments that we've made in critical infrastructure, and what we need to do, and the roadmap that we have to reach our next goal, which is internally from 1 to 5 billion. Really, the pathway there is becoming more and more clear all the time, and very, very excited in terms of what we have and our setup for the future. So I think it's not just for us survival; it's doubling down on our core competencies, continuing to make smart strategic investments in what we know we need to do as an organization to reach that goal. And again, focusing on our future, which includes increases in efficiencies, increases in optimization, but also coupled with strategic investments for growth.
That's a great answer. I'm going to say something a little controversial, but I don't think it's that controversial. I know obviously like almost everything we say in this sector, like it's going to be a little controversial given it's cannabis and there's so many different stakeholders. But like I think it was kind of starting 3Q, 4Q last year. I kind of came to the view of look, like let's like safe banking specifically, right? Like I want it to pass. Like I think it needs to pass. Obviously, I think the cannabis sector needs to be on a level playing field given the health benefits, the economic opportunity, et cetera, et cetera. And obviously, I need safe to pass from a public safety reason. But honestly, what I didn't want to have happen is I didn't want safe to pass. I didn't want to see money come flooding back into the sector and continuing this cycle of sort of funding companies or business endeavors that really don't have a long-term sustainable model. Obviously, this sector has gone through at least one big. We're going through a cycle now, but sort of the metrics that some companies were kind of targeting, whether it was the land grab, whether it was the house of brands. I've seen a lot of the pitch decks for private cannabis companies, et cetera. It's still an evolving sector and business models still aren't fully formed. And many companies, not the top companies, but I think a lot of the smaller private companies, it was obvious, these are people just kind of looking, there may be a specific business opportunity, but there's no real path to sustainability here. So long way of saying that, while I understand it's a really tough environment out there as far as, capital markets, in a way, I'm actually kind of thinking, this is it's time for the sector to kind of see, how companies can do without capital. It's time for many of the companies to become self-funding, and that's not to say at some point later down the road, growth opportunities present themselves. You need to go out, or a company needs to go out and raise more capital, et cetera. I mean, what's your view on that? It's tough for me to say because I'm a big supporter of the sector, but I'm also like at some point, a company needs to become sort of self-funding and prove out its business model if it wants to garner more capital.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that first, I mean, I think let me just